southern Scotland, some disruption possible. But in between, in the sunshine, it will feel fairly warm towards the east and southeast again. Here, temperatures approaching 30 Celsius. But for many, a much fresher day as the winds pick up in the north and the west. Generally, temperatures 21 to 25 degrees. Into this evening time, further bands of heavy showers continue to push northeastwards across Scotland. Some of these showers could be heavy, still potentially thundery as well. So there could be still some disruption into the evening time. But some brighter skies following across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland with a scattering of heavy showers. Showers clearing northern England for a time too. And then largely dry across the rest of England and Wales. Still some scattered showers around. A little breezy around the coast, and the heat from the past few days continues to clear away into the near continent. Through this evening and overnight, we start to see more organised areas of rain moving in from the Atlantic as the low pressure system continues to push across us. We'll see some clear spells in between. Temperatures generally, though, overnight a little lower than they have been of late, so a little more comfortable for sleeping, but still 14 or 15 Celsius. Some sunny spells initially across eastern and northern parts to start Tuesday, but this band of showery rain will push eastwards across most areas. Some thundery downpours in there, some local disruption, but in between there will be some sunny spells around this area of low pressure, but most of us seeing some rain at some point during the day. A cooler and breezier day, temperatures high teens to low 20s for most of us, which is near average. See you soon.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers in Edinburgh should exercise caution due to surface water affecting driving conditions today. In Kingston upon Hull, the A63 eastbound is closed after a collision, causing 20-minute delays. Diversions are in place for the M48 westbound at the Severn Bridge due to roadworks. In Surrey, an accident on the M25 clockwise has closed 3 lanes, resulting in 2-hour delays. And on the trains, disruptions affect Avanti West Coast and cross-country services between Glasgow Central and Motherwell. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's completely unacceptable to have a biological man in a female-only changing room. And from my personal point of view, I was abused as a child, and having a man in our changing room is a particular trigger for me. And the trust just did nothing about it, so we had to take things further.
So you complained to the trust about this. You and your colleagues got together, and they just ignored you. They didn't really care about it.
Not a day. They didn't care at all. We wrote a letter of concern. 26 of us signed it. And the response was that we needed to be re-educated, we needed to broaden our mindset, and they backed this trans person 150%.
So, Karen, this person who identifies as Rose, on one occasion they were staring at you or your colleagues' breasts in this changing room and asking, are you getting changed yet? Another of your colleagues had a panic attack. I don't think it was you. Is that accurate? That was me. And what do you make of people who call you a TERF? Or a bigot for complaining about this kind of thing, because that's what they say. They do, yes, but there's been loads of positivity out there for us. There's loads of positive comments, and I'm not a bigot. I'm not a TERF. I'm just fighting for what's right. I want to feel safe when I get changed. Yeah. There's what's happened to me could have happened to other people, and I want to be a voice for them to stand up and come forward and say this is not acceptable. Karen, you're a brave lady, you and your colleagues, and I'm glad, actually, it was Wes Streeting who intervened in the end, one of the more competent Labour ministers, who told Darlington Hospital, sort this out, pull your finger out, don't be so ridiculous, and he got involved and he sorted it out for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
My name is Tom.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Monday, July the 14th, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom, with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
Good morning. So he's coming back to Britain.
The country, great country, they're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest. And that's what it is, it's a fest, and it's beautiful.
American President Donald Trump will make a rare second state visit to Britain in September, but he will not be speaking in Parliament because our MPs are on holiday. Is that just a lucky coincidence?
Nigel Farage says it's not right. Without a doubt, we should give a chance for President Trump to speak to all MPs and peers. Recall Parliament, he says.
A chance of royal reconciliation. Senior aides to the King and Prince Harry have been seen together in London.
Well, sources close to Prince Harry say they are frustrated that the meeting was leaked. However, is this the start of the beginning of the end, even, of the royal feud? More details shortly.
Border disorder continues. Almost 1,400 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since the UK and France signed their one-in, one-out migration deal only last week.
And here's one for me and Bev to get us salivating. Digital ID deterrence. The government considers using digital ID cards to stop migrants from illegally working. Would this open the floodgates for an online identity for all of us?
And these extraordinary pictures from yesterday's Southend Airport is going to remain closed until further notice after an aircraft crashed moments after takeoff yesterday. The pictures at the scene show a huge fireball, but we're still lacking many details.
And heatwave havoc. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband warns the British way of life is under threat because of climate change. Of course he did. As a report this morning tells us to brace ourselves for more record-breaking heat and rainfall.
Bloggers, poets and diversity officers are just some of the protected occupations eligible for a skilled work visa in Britain. We'll be telling you some other jobs which might just guarantee you can stay here.
And it's July the 14th, which obviously means it's International Non-Binary People's Day. Happy day to you. A day to raise awareness of people who don't identify within the traditional gender spectrum. Will you be marking it at home? Bev, happy Non-Binary Day.
Happy Non-Binary Day to
How are you celebrating?
By not being non-binary, by being a woman. You know, we tried to find a non-binary person to come on the show this morning. They are surprisingly hard to find. There aren't that many of them, which begs the question, why do you even need a day devoted to celebrating?
So just remind me and the viewers what non-binary is.
So if you say to somebody, if you call them a he or a she, they will say, well, I'm not a he or a she, I'm a they. And it gives them an air of mystique and perhaps one might say attention-seeking. There are quite a few non-binary children.
What?
That's all oh, yes.
In schools?
Oh, yes. This is normal in schools. It's the younger generation. Anybody sort of over the age probably of about 16 will be sat at home scratching their heads and going, what? But it's true. There are lots of non-binary children out there.
All right, lots of they, thems. Big show coming up. Let us know your thoughts. GBNews.com/your say. Happy Non-Binary Day. First of all, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
9:30, the top story from the newsroom this hour. Almost 1,400 migrants have crossed the Channel since the UK and France signed a new returns deal. But the Tories claim it's a gimmick, suggesting just 6% will be sent back. London Southend Airport remains closed this morning after a plane crashed in a fireball on Sunday. Witnesses say the aircraft banked sharply before hitting the ground. The number of casualties is still unconfirmed. Donald Trump has confirmed the US is sending Patriot missile systems to Ukraine, calling the support long overdue. He's accusing Vladimir Putin of talking peace by day, bombing civilians by night. The president's also pressing ahead with 30% tariffs on Mexico and the EU unless new trade deals meet his demands. Economic advisors say the tariffs are real, with markets bracing for impact ahead of the August deadline. Prosecutions for fare evasion on the London Underground have hit a 6-year high, with nearly 3,700 people taken to court last year. 10 people, including 6 children, have been killed in an Israeli drone strike in central Gaza. Eyewitnesses say a missile hit a crowd of people queuing for water. Well, those are the latest headlines for now. More news from me at 10.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Britain's Newsroom, Bev and Ben, all this week while Andrew is on his holidays.
Where is he? Anywhere nice?
I don't think we should
Shaggy?
say. I don't want the paparazzi flooding Andrew Pearce's holiday and getting pictures of him in his underpants. None of us need
He's in
that.
Bognor Regis Butlins.
Hey, don't. I like Bognor Regis Butlins.
Me too.
I've been and stayed there with the kids. Right, so Donald Trump is coming to the UK on September the 17th. We're going to get onto that in just a minute. But yesterday, we saw these pictures.
Yeah, great pictures last night. He presented Chelsea Football Club with the Club World Cup trophy in New Jersey as they beat French side Paris Saint-Germain 3-0.
This was so bizarre because I saw this picture online of Donald Trump with Chelsea Football Club and I thought I was looking at AI. I thought it was somebody doing that where does Donald Trump pop up next kind of vibe. But no, he was there and he was right in the middle of it. It was really strange to see. It's not like proper football though, is it, when they're in America somehow?
No, soccer.
It doesn't quite feel like he looks... Even Donald Trump's face, he looks like he's not quite sure.
So hopefully you see in a second, but the pictures got even better because when Chelsea lifted the trophy, and by the way, if you're not familiar with the competition, it's the FIFA Club World Cup. Some would argue it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse competition, it's a money maker, and it's ahead of the US hosting the World Cup next year with Canada and Mexico. Anyway, Donald Trump later on, after these pictures, so he's dishing out the medals here, he jumped on stage for the trophy celebrations and was almost, not quite, but almost bouncing up and down with the Chelsea. There you go.
Right in the middle. If you're listening on the radio, it's a bit like he was probably playing centre forward or something, and he's there right in the middle of the team, right at the front. And even the players look a little confused as to why he's there, but, you know, good for him, getting in the middle of it. As you were saying, Ben, it's not necessarily that it's all... I thought this maybe he's always hosted in America. I thought it was an American competition, but it's because they've got the proper World Cup next year. But this morning, Buckingham Palace has announced that Donald Trump will be visiting for his second state visit for 2 days on September the 17th.
Yes, but rather conveniently, MPs will be in recess. They won't be there. So Donald Trump won't get to address Parliament, which for some, Christopher Hope, our political editor, welcome along, is very welcomed. Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, I think has been quite outspoken previously amongst many about President Trump. Is this coincidence or...?
Well, actually, Lindsay Hoyle is quite neutral on this. John Bercow, his predecessor, was definitely against it. Indeed, that's why we didn't see one given to Donald Trump last time he came here. But Lindsay Hoyle, his friends tell me that simply he hadn't been asked to do one, and he was open to the idea when we first approached his office when this idea was mooted last year, and he's quite up for it. But as things stand, there's been no request from the palace or with the government to host or to put on an address to both houses. We saw it last week. Emmanuel Macron spoke to both MPs and peers in the Royal Gallery in the House of Lords. The reason why it won't happen is this: the House of Commons returns for its September sitting, the 2nd of September to the 16th of September. It's called the Daily Mail sitting because MPs can't be on holiday for too long, so they come back for 2 weeks in September. That's colloquially by me, not by...
You mean the Daily Mail? Because otherwise the Daily Mail would lay into them and say, why are they all still on holiday?
It's not a good look. So they come back for 2 weeks in September. So they rise on the Tuesday, the 16th of September, and guess who arrives on Wednesday, the 17th of September? Donald Trump, for 3 days.
That cannot be coincidental, Christopher Hope.
I don't think it's coincidental, Beverly Turner.
Aren't they utterly spineless?
Well, I think they want to avoid offending Donald Trump. So Donald Trump may be offended anyway when he watches GB News today and finds out about this, him no addressing of both houses of Parliament. But against that, you've got the issue of MPs in the House of Commons cross about it. They could turn their backs. They could embarrass the King. There's lots of moving parts in play. They clearly, I think, reckon that it's safer not to have him addressing democratically elected representatives who may kick off and leave him in Windsor, because he's going to be in Windsor all the time, according to Cameron Walker's schedule. It's
just such low-grade behaviour, isn't it, from MPs who would even dare do that? Why don't they change the perspective and look at the US now and Donald Trump and the momentum they've got and the positivity and things getting done, illegals being deported, the economy now, I mean, the S&P 500 and the markets are all-time highs. Why don't they just look to what Donald Trump is doing and maybe just put their hatred for him aside and think, oh, actually,
well, it's
maybe
a
he's doing something.
Ben, it's a condition called Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
We know this, don't we? And people can't get, like Brexit to derangement syndrome, they can't get past the big as though it's the elephant in the room and look at what's actually really happening and what's he saying. He's trying to bring peace around the world. I should say not all MPs are against this. Nigel Farage, of course, not Donald Farage. Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, he says that Parliament should be recalled. He tells me moments ago, without doubt, the USA is our most important ally, and he gets it. The point is we are plugged into America. They're our biggest trading ally. We share all of our secrets with them. They with us. They're our best pals in a dangerous world. Why not give him
I would love to
that
know what has gone on behind the scenes there between America and Britain to organise the date of this. Did the American administration ask for an earlier date, a different date, so that he could speak, and they were rejected? Because, the idea that Donald Trump would be offended by the behaviour of MPs, as Ben says, well, the MPs need to grow up, frankly, and be more polite to somebody when they visit your house. And even if you don't like what they've got to say, you still nod politely and recognise they are the leader of the free world. But also, the idea that he hasn't been allowed to speak when America's biggest gripe with us at the moment is that we have no free speech. JD Vance has constantly went and spoke to the EU about the fact that Europe is losing free speech. We don't like speech so much. We're not going to let you talk.
Well, it wasn't EU, it was the Munich Security Conference. It was worse than that.
It was a lot of European leaders in that room. But they were saying, unless you bring back free speech, we won't protect you. It was far worse than the EU. It was a security issue. It was about, and their most important thing they share with us, America, is looking after us. They're a protective umbrella around this country. That without them, we can't work on nuclear weapons. They are a vital part of keeping us safe. That's being forgotten in all this. Again, I mean, this will develop through the day. Will Lindsay Hoyle get requests to have a visit? I mean, he's there for 3 days. Parliament has risen the previous day. Having it sit an extra day isn't a lot of overtime and the rest for staff there. So
just finally, Chopper, any idea what the schedule will look like for President Trump? What will he be doing? Where will he be going?
We don't have full detail. I'm looking at Cameron Walker in the studio. We don't have full detail yet because it's the King's invitation, isn't it?
Yeah, I might be able to provide some insight. So the first day is going to be purely ceremonial at Windsor Castle. I suspect it won't be what we just saw last week with President Macron of France, because can you imagine President Trump sitting in an open-top carriage through the streets of Windsor, considering what happened to him literally a year ago with the assassination attempt? I don't think the Secret Service will allow that. I suspect what is going to happen is, like he did last time, was fly in via helicopter to Windsor Castle, have a big ceremonial welcome with all the military spectacle and all the rest of it. President Trump will deliver a speech inside St George's Hall at the start of the state banquet. So we are going to hear from him. So his freedom of speech is not going to be stifled completely. There will probably also be a separate speech in London he'll deliver at the Guildhall, attended by members of the royal family too. But as Chopper says, speaking to MPs probably highly unlikely. But of course he will be going to London for the Guildhall speech, but he'll be mainly staying in Windsor.
OK. Let's also, Cameron, while you're here, then talk about this bizarre photograph. I think it's bizarre. The teams from Sussex and King Charles having a meeting. Tell us about it.
Yes, so the King's Director of Communications, Tobin Andre, sitting down in the open with Meredith Maines, who is Harry and Meghan's right-hand woman, and their new London, UK-based PR, Liam Maguire. Now, sources close to Harry tell me they are very frustrated that this was leaked, this meeting was leaked. But I would wonder, Bev and Ben, it's a big coincidence that a paparazzi photographer just happened to be there to capture the moments that one of the King's senior aides and Harry's 2 senior aides were speaking to one another in London. Now, Meredith, I knew, was in London anyway, because she was having various meetings with Harry's charity work and all the rest of it. Funnily enough, I wasn't told about this meeting with Tobin from Buckingham Palace. But what this does show is there is some kind of channel of communication starting to open up. Harry's team would not have taken that meeting without Harry's blessing. The King's team would not have taken that meeting without the King's blessing. So something is happening here.
Can I ask you, though, Cameron? All this seems, I mean, for me anyway, it seems pretty bizarre behaviour. If you want to talk to your dad or try and repair relationships, why don't you just go around and say, hello, Dad, do you fancy a beer or a cup of coffee? Why are aides meeting to broker a meeting? This is strange behaviour.
Well, it's strange behaviour, but that is just how the royal family works. Even if they were the best of pals, Harry and the King, their aides would probably have a conversation interim to try and get a meeting in the diary ahead of time. Harry is we expect, because of the World Child Awards in September, going to be here in September in the United Kingdom. The King will be at Balmoral. Is there going to be some kind of meeting going on behind the scenes? We'll see, ahead of Invictus in 2027. So it's not uncommon that aides would be speaking on behalf of their principals. I suspect what this meeting was about is making sure that there's not a huge diary clash of any engagements coming up, because, of course, we all, you know, a lot of people would criticise Prince Harry if he's seen to be overshadowing the King on an engagement, but also perhaps just breaking the ice a little bit because of Harry's bombshell interview with the BBC a few months ago. That did not go down well with the palace, but clearly the King is seeing past that, I think. And is this beginning of the end of this feud?
And interestingly, nobody there representing William and Catherine.
Yes, and I think that is very significant. Every time I speak to people close to William and I mention Harry, the barriers very well and truly go up. They don't want to know. Harry even said on the record during that BBC interview over his security a few months ago that he would like to reconcile with his father, but members of my family will never forgive me for what I've done, i.e. Spare, the Netflix series and so on. Is that Prince William he's talking about? Only Prince Harry can say, of course, but I think a lot of people are putting two and two together.
Would you forgive your sibling if they did that to you, Bev? Dirty laundry in public, books?
I think you have to go beyond. You've got to go deep into the depths of your capacity for forgiveness. I do when it comes to your siblings. I think you do. And why? For the kids.
But it was the ultimate betrayal,
for the kids. Yeah, but the kids don't see their cousins anymore. They don't see their grandfather and their granny anymore. I think that is almost unforgivable, and that is why with family feuds you just have to bring them together. It's not just your generation, it's the kids. You would.
And I think their mother, Princess Diana...
I don't know, I'm not sure. I think if my brother or sister did that to me, let's just remind ourselves of what happened. The Oprah interview, Spare, calling your stepmother, your partner, was it a wicked witch?
Wicked stepmother.
I mean, it goes on and on.
Yep. Right, Chris, Cameron, thank you so much. We're going to be back in just a minute. Still to come is introducing digital IDs, the way to tackle the small boat crisis. Labour peer Harriet Harman is encouraging the government to do just that. But what would it mean for all of you innocent people at home? Don't go anywhere. And we're going to be looking at the detail of this Southend Airport crash. Southend Airport remains closed after this small plane crashed yesterday. Why? What happened? Who was on that plane? We'll try and answer the questions. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Plenty of dry weather, sunshine across much of Europe over the next few days. Hot in Turkey at the moment, temperatures above average. The risk of 1 or 2 showers across Greece into Italy, but many places dry. Lots of sunny spells again, a few showers into southern parts of France. Spain and Portugal, lots of sunshine, temperatures in the low 30s. A little more cloud towards the Canary Islands, a little breezy here too. Over the next few days, it remains hot and sunny across all areas.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, so I got the news on 4th of April, right in between GB Team Selection Series, which hurt even more because I was leading in the points. But all of a sudden, I get a phone call being told you're banned from attending any public UK premises, banned from speaking with your teammates or staff, which was the most brutal part of it, and suspended, or whatever word you want to use.
I think, though, Kurt, that, posting subscription-only saucy content online might get you in a little bit of trouble, or did it not cross your mind?
No, for sure. But I want to make it clear that I have tried things in the past. I've been living life on the edge so many years. We moved from Latvia in 2010, been living life on the edge since then, done everything from working freelance long into long nights, working at the Amazon warehouse. I have seeked out other alternatives, But in December last year, I got to a point, a realization where I thought, is it worth it, or can I find an alternative? And I knew of other GB athletes doing it. I didn't think it was going to cause outrage like this.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know, a nice chap like you, who's obviously very talented with your sport, you could make some money doing, you know, like online fitness training or personal training and things like that don't involve, you know, getting your kit off.
No, for sure. I've been making content for like 6-7 years now. Over 1,000 of the pieces of content have been inspirational, motivational. I've visited over 30 schools in the UK, going to the hardest parts of the UK, inspiring kids from underprivileged backgrounds to get into sport. I've tried that, but I don't know. I found that in this day and age, unless you are smart or find some little controversial thing you can hold on to, it's going to be hard to get attention and sponsorship.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Morning, 10 to 10 on Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News with Bev, Turner and me, Ben Leo, just for this week whilst Andrew enjoys his holiday.
So Southend Airport will remain closed until further notice after an aircraft crashed just moments after takeoff yesterday afternoon.
The airport say they will restart flight operations as soon as possible and will continue to update the public on developments.
There has been no confirmation on the number of casualties and sparse details. Let's speak now to Bayo Alaba, the Labour MP for Southend East and Rochford. Good morning to you, Bayo. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. What else do we know about this very unusual and visually very shocking event at Southend Airport?
Thank you. Good morning, Ben and Bev. Yes, unfortunately, there's still a lot of details that we're still working out, but shortly after 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, this aircraft was, there's a number of sort of witnesses, but certainly it looks like upon takeoff, the plane crashed. Now, the air investigation are at the site, and so they're still working through it, unfortunately. So, I mean, what we've got is a number of evidence and a lot of witnesses in terms of what's happened, but nothing's been corroborated. So there's only so much I can really say at the moment. But what I would say is my thoughts and well wishes goes out to everybody involved, because it really is a tragic event.
Well, we're just seeing, if you're watching on television now, pictures of the aircraft. It was a Beechcraft King Air B200. It's got 2 engines, it's about 39 feet long, and it can carry, Bayo, more than 20 people, 20 passengers, including the pilot. Do we know how many people were flying on board? Do we know the number of deaths, if any, the number of injuries? Any idea?
We don't, and we're following the lead of we've been in touch with the police, and obviously we've been in touch with the airport. From what I understand, we know obviously that the plane was crewed. We believe there was passengers on board, but we can't substantiate the details yet. As I say, the investigation units are on site going through the wreckage, so it would be remiss of me to sort of speculate more than that, because I'm sure there's going to be family members that need to be contacted as well. And so I'm mindful about what I can share and what I do say at this point.
Do you know, Bayo, what type of people use these small aircraft? It was headed for the Netherlands, apparently. Who owns these sorts of planes? Who would routinely use them for such short trips?
I think it's a widely used plane. From what I understand, the plane is, this plane was like a medical transport plane.
And medical transport plane?
Yes, and so it may have been, again, I don't know, I'm not sort of part of the investigating team, but I believe it may have been sort of transporting a passenger or a patient. That's a little bit I do understand that, these planes often are used for medical transport. But having said that, the plane could have been modified in the last couple of months, and it may well have been just standard passengers. So I cannot really sort of confirm either way, but typically those planes are used for medical transport.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Interesting. All right, thank you so much. Bayo Alabar there, the Labour MP for Southend East and Rochford. There's a really bizarre number of airplane crashes in the last 6 to 12 months.
Well, we had the Air India situation a few weeks ago. The report came out, the preliminary report, saying that the engines were cut off for that flight. Nobody knows why.
The speculation this morning, that report broke kind of late UK time on Friday night, that the fuel switches were turned off, and there is speculation that the pilot or the assistant pilot was depressed, and his mother had died, and was this a grand suicide mission? This is just one of the theories which is being put forward.
I spoke to a former pilot and aviation expert on that, and they were telling me about the Boeing aircraft and how it's not just, you can't just knock the switches with your knee. You have to, it's almost like an old manual gear stick where you lift the gear stick for reverse. It takes a lot of pressure, a lot of cognitive input. You can't just accidentally turn off the fuel switches. And this aircraft from Southend, so it was equipped with medical systems for transporting patients. It's specialised in medical evacuation services and transplant flights, and also runs private charters. So was it transporting organs somewhere?
It's bizarre. Let's see what you've been saying at home this morning in response to this idea that Donald Trump is going to come out for a state visit, but coincidentally when Parliament isn't sitting, so we don't have to have any embarrassing situation with, I don't know, Donald Trump maybe offering a few home truths to our MPs where they can't actually just turn him off and say, isn't he awful?
They're spineless, aren't they?
Susan says this treatment of Donald Trump is disgustingly and totally disrespectful. We've just had to listen to that despicable little Macron while he blames Britain for his incompetence of his borders. Having said that, he's probably more relaxed about his borders, as he knows they are only passing through his country to be pushed off and forced onto Britain. And Chris says, what a sad indictment of this government, our country. They deliberately have to plan the visit while Parliament is in recess to avoid childlike MPs having the opportunity to boycott the President's speech. It is a disgrace.
Just so cowardly. Right, still ahead. Ed Miliband says the British way of life is at risk as scientists warn of more extreme weather, more heat waves, more...
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Currently, the A720 is restricted westbound between Miller Hill and Sheriff Hall due to a breakdown. Delays are expected. The M48-7 bridge is closed westbound for maintenance with diversions. In Luton, an M1 northbound collision between junction 10 and 11 causes 15-minute delays. Normal conditions are expected shortly. The M25 clockwise between junctions 8 and 9 in Surrey is congested, causing 1.5-hour delays. Normal traffic flow is anticipated soon. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are disrupted between Glasgow Central and Motherwell. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
10 a.m. on Monday the 14th of July, live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
Good morning to you. Thank you for your company. He's coming back to Britain.
The country, great country, they're going to do a second, as you know, a second fest. And that's what it is, it's a fest, and it's beautiful.
There he is. US President Donald Trump will make a rare second state visit to Britain in September. Just been announced, but he won't speak in Parliament as our MPs are conveniently on holiday.
Nigel Farage is not happy. He thinks Parliament should be recalled to allow the President to address both houses of Parliament. So what happens next?
Border disorder. Almost 1,400 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel since the UK and France signed that game-changing one-in, one-out migration deal only last week.
And authorities in the UK and France are becoming increasingly concerned about the violence that's breaking out between migrants, shootings, stabbings, and just yesterday, a big fight on board a migrant boat as they were picked up by Border Force.
Digital ID deterrence. The government considers using digital ID cards to stop migrants from illegally working here. Would this open the floodgates for an online identity for all of us?
Yes, it would. Southend Airport is going to remain closed until further notice after an aircraft crashed moments after takeoff yesterday. Pictures at the scene show a huge fireball erupting.
And heatwave havoc. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband warns the British way of life is under threat because of climate change. As a report this morning tells us to brace ourselves for more record-breaking heat, yes please, and rainfall.
Now, if you're a blogger, a poet or a diversity officer, you will have protected occupation status, meaning that you could be eligible for a skilled work visa in Britain. Does that sound right to you?
And it's July 14th, which obviously means it's International Non-Binary People's Day. Yes, a day to raise awareness of people who don't identify within the traditional gender spectrum. How are you celebrating it?
So Ed Miliband's saying that the weather is threatening the British way of life. He says there's going to be more rain, it's quite British, and it's going to be warm. I'm quite happy for it to be warm. What does he mean?
I could think of many things which are threatening currently the British way of life over the weather. I mean, Mark White's going to join us imminently. 1,400 small boat migrants over the past couple of days, I mean, for starters.
Yes, such a bizarre statement to make. We're going to be trying to work out what he was getting at. GBNews.com/your say. Let us know your thoughts this morning. First, let's get a quick news hit with Sam.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, almost 1,400 migrants have crossed the Channel since the UK and France signed a new returns deal last week. The Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has branded it a gimmick, claiming just 6% will be sent back under the agreement. He told GB News the Rwanda scheme was handed to Labour on a plate. It comes as Sir Keir Starmer is expected to meet Germany's Chancellor this week to discuss how to crack down on people smugglers. Here, London's Southend Airport is shut until further notice after a small plane crashed in a fireball on Sunday afternoon. Witnesses say the aircraft banked sharply before hitting the ground and bursting into flames. The number of casualties is still unconfirmed, as police are urging the public to avoid the area. Air accident teams remain at the scene of that crash. Donald Trump has said that the US is sending very sophisticated missiles and military equipment to Ukraine, including Patriot missile defence systems. The president confirmed that support in a Sunday night speech, saying Ukraine desperately needs it. He also hit out at Vladimir Putin, accusing him of talking peace by day and bombing civilians by night. Well, Trump insists America will be 100% reimbursed by Europe for those supplies, and says it's how it should have been all along.
Haven't agreed on the number yet, but they're going to have some because they do need protection. But the European Union is paying for it. We're not paying anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice, and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
President Trump is also pressing ahead with 30% tariffs on Mexico and the European Union, due to start on the 1st of August, unless new trade deals meet his expectations. His economic advisor says the tariffs are real if Trump doesn't get a better offer. Markets are bracing for impact when trading opens, with currency moves set to show global reaction. Bitcoin barely budged, though, over the weekend, despite the fresh threat. EU trade ministers will meet this morning, as the US deadline has now shifted from July to the 1st of August. Here, the government is launching a new £100 million scheme designed to give vulnerable children and families a better start in life. Labour claims the Better Futures Fund will support up to 200,000 children over the next decade, helping them to access education, safe housing and support networks. It brings together charities, investors and local communities to tackle disadvantage. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says it's the largest fund of its kind ever created in the UK. Prosecutions for fare evasion on the London Underground have hit a 6-year high, with nearly 3,700 people taken to court in just the past year. TfL has also issued over 13,000 penalty fares on the tube. The crackdown cost nearly £14 million across the network last year, with TfL warning fare dodging robs Londoners of vital investment. The figures were revealed in a Freedom of Information request after a video of Robert Jenrick confronting evaders went viral. 10 people, including 6 children, have been killed in an Israeli drone strike while queuing for water in central Gaza, according to emergency services on the ground there. Eyewitnesses say a missile hit a crowd gathered around a tanker at a refugee camp. Israel says a technical error caused that strike to miss its intended target. That was an Islamic Jihad militant. Video has shown children among the casualties. It comes as Red Cross medics are reporting a surge in gunshot injuries near food sites and warn Gaza's hospitals are near collapse. And just before I hand you back to Ben and Bev, let's just bring you a breaking line regarding allegations made against Greg Wallace, of course, the former MasterChef presenter on the BBC. We're just hearing that a number of allegations, 45, in fact, allegations made against Greg Wallace during his time on the programme, have been substantiated, according to a report that just coming into us from a number of news wires. Those 45 allegations substantiated, including one of unwelcome physical contact. They have been confirmed in that report. We will wait for the response from the BBC on the findings in that report. They have, of course, been waiting to see the results of that report from the production company Banijay regarding those allegations against the former presenter. Plenty more on that with Bev and Ben throughout the rest of this morning. Let's hand straight back to them.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and good morning to you at home. Thank you for your company. Ben and Bev with you this morning. I'm here all week, actually. Andrew's on holiday, so just a heads up.
No, you don't mean just a heads up. What you mean is, so keep watching all week. It will be amazing. It's like a warning.
I'll just be modest.
Just warning you, I'm going to be here all week. Look, we have a great time together. So let's just recap that breaking news from Sam. 45 out of the 83 allegations made against Greg Wallace during his time MasterChef have been found to have been substantiated.
What does that mean?
An independent investigation concluded. So presumably they said to the girls, what did he say? Did he say this? They said, yes, he did say this. Presumably that's what substantiated means. 83 allegations against Wallace from 41 complainants, all relating to his time on MasterChef, most related to inappropriate sexual language and humour.
Yeah, Greg Wallace, he posted a video last week and his explanation was, look, when the BBC hired me to do MasterChef, they knew what they were getting. It was a cheeky greengrocer, man of the people kind of thing. This was his defence. I'm not saying it's my view. And he says they knew what they were getting and they knew about my character and some of the jokes I'd made from the very start. And they continued to have me on there for a while.
It's also the fact that this was literally the part that he played on camera. There are... there are hundreds of minutes of him making jokes that are sort of sexual innuendos, which cooking shows have always done, OK? Nigella Lawson made a career out of it. Even Bake Off jokes about soggy bottoms, you know, on cakes. That is part of the British nudge, nudge, wink, wink, carry on cookery humour that we have in the UK. And for him, that was absolutely his role. So of course, if these are serious complaints, if he is arrested, if he is charged, if he's found guilty, then he should be. That's how our justice system works. But I do worry, Ben, when most of the complaints relate to inappropriate sexual language and humour, because I think we need humour. And only 6 of the complaints were raised with the BBC at the time. This is out of 83 allegations, which people are now coming forward and saying, oh, well, on this occasion, he said this to me. 6 of them were raised at the time. The question for me would be, what was done about those 6 complaints at the time? That's much more of a pressing issue than whether somebody can remember a conversation that might have been said 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Did you see his defence last week, or part defence? In a statement, he said, Greg Wallace, that he'd recently been diagnosed with autism. And he took aim at the BBC and bosses there for failing to investigate my disability or protect me from what I now realise was a dangerous environment. For me, that's a little bit of a cop-out.
Yeah.
Don't blame autism or some undiagnosed thing and then go and blame your bosses for not diagnosing you or helping you with it.
That, for me, sounds a little bit like a man who is desperately looking for an out for a horrible situation that he's now in, and he knows if he does mention that as disability, then maybe that will... He's playing the BBC at their own game to some degree with that. He may be on the spectrum, but there will also be people who are also on the spectrum watching this saying, well, hang on a minute, I've got autism and I wouldn't make a sexual innuendo to someone at work, so please don't use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
But it's not going away for Greg Wallace. And I said it last week on the show, we discussed this. I think there's a class issue at play here. Greg Wallace is not... He's a working class boy. Hugh Edwards treated completely differently. I do think there is a class issue. It's much easier to kick him down the road, isn't it? And ruin his life. Anyway, moving on.
OK, yeah, let's move on. President Donald Trump, he's coming to Britain on September the 17th. Make space in your diaries. Let's get more from our political editor, Christopher Hope. Sorry, Mark White's here as well. I thought it was
Christopher Hope is...
You're this side. Hello, Chopper.
That's Mark White. We'll come to him in a moment.
There's a little bit of controversy over this, not the fact that President Trump is coming, unless you've got TDS, but the fact that Parliament is in recess and he won't be able to speak to MPs or go to the Commons.
That's right, Ben, those dates again. So Parliament returns on the 2nd of September until the 16th of September. They call this the Daily Mail sitting to avoid being off for 3 months. They come back for a 2-week short period. I roll from Bev Turner, by the way, for those on the radio. They come back for 2 weeks in September, and then they rise to go back to their constituencies for a month from the 16th of September. The following day, in comes Donald Trump for this Wednesday 17th, Thursday the 18th and Friday the 19th. He's based in Windsor, but this means it looks like there won't be a address to both Houses of Parliament, as we gave to Emmanuel Macron last week, the French president, in the royal room there in the House of Lords. So some are saying that this is not right. Notably, Nigel Farage, without doubt, the US is our most important ally, he says, when I asked him within the past hour, should this be passed on also to Donald Trump. And in the moments ago, Suella Braverman, who was the former Home Secretary, the Tory Home Secretary, says this: Trump must be allowed to address Parliament, he says. She says, Nigel Farage is right. The USA should be our closest and strongest ally. Shamefully, our relationship has been broken by this terrible government. Of course, President Trump should address Parliament. The snub is slipping down to the PM's weakness and not wanting to upset his inept Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, and loony backbenchers. So they appear to be sort of not wanting any embarrassment by MPs. And the risk is it's going to damage our special relationship.
Wouldn't you think that, given how much of an issue illegal migration is in this country at the moment, and it regularly tops polls of things that British people are concerned about, when you have a president who has solved illegal immigration on the border by 95%, you might say, come and tell us how you've done that. Let us listen and learn. So it smacks of a sort of arrogance and a completely lack of sort of connection with the British public that Starmer isn't saying that. So he won't even mention it, will he?
Well, there are political lessons to learn. You threaten tariffs and you solve the border question.
Yeah.
So you do one thing with one idea and that solves your border issue. That's what I did with both Canada and Mexico. And that's how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
But, you know, the deeper question, we rely on our safety. It's a dangerous world out there. The US protects us. They deserve the respect, arguably, maybe more than the French president, by the way.
Well, yeah, arguably? Yeah. I'd say definitely.
Well, some would say not as much arguably, but you did.
I strongly believe, and you can have a go at me, viewers, for this, but I think France is a hostile state. They are enabling the small boats crisis. They are disintegrating Britain. They are pillaging taxpayers in the process. And yet Emmanuel Macron comes over here with pomp and ceremony, wades through Windsor in a carriage, and yet when it comes to President Trump, as Bev said, despite what you think of him personally, and some of his behaviour or comments, if it doesn't rub right with you, fine. But he's solved a very critical problem, which was 10 times worse than ours, and he has ideas. So the fact we can treat Emmanuel Macron like that, when France have treated us as they do, and yet they have the complete opposite approach to President Trump, it just...
some of them, the hostile state is quite strong, Ben, because we are now sharing our defence nuclear capability. They are literally an ally of ours.
Wow.
But I know politically...
Maybe on paper.
But politically and on Brexit, they're certainly not content with what we've done.
Talking about migrants, Mark White is here. What do we know of the most recent figures, Mark?
Well, almost 1,400 have now crossed the English Channel since that deal was signed with Emmanuel Macron and Sir Keir Starmer. Of course, the deal hasn't sort of, been implemented as yet, but when it does, it's going to be, we're told, a very modest amount to begin with anyway, who are being returned to France. But it's certainly not making any difference at the moment. In terms of what you said about France being a hostile state, I think a self-interested state, absolutely, where Emmanuel Macron is putting the interests of his state above, of course, the interests of the UK. Maybe you could argue that Sir Keir Starmer needs to adopt that particular approach.
What about, I keep seeing these pictures, Mark, online, and I don't know if they're true or not. It's very difficult to verify. Of rioting in Spain with what appear to be gangs of migrants. The French are now saying they're worried about levels of violence between rival migrant gangs. What is going on?
There's an uptick in violence between migrant groups on the northern shores of France. That is absolutely true. We have had multiple shootings, especially in the camps in and around Dunkirk, fatal shootings. Stabbings are an everyday occurrence now. You're looking at images here from Dover Harbour just yesterday. Look at all the police and security personnel there. That's because one of those disputes between rival migrant gangs broke out on a boat while it was crossing the channel, large-scale fight, and then they were taken on the border force vessel Hurricane and continued to fight, some with weapons, on board the Hurricane. Hurricane was supposedly going to take up another group of migrants and had to divert quickly back to Dover, and that security presence was there to deal with those. It's been fueled mainly by a tactic adopted by mostly African migrants who cannot afford to or don't want to pay the people's smugglers, and instead they have a tactic when the boats are launching with, say, 65 paying customers who've paid the Turkish or the Kurdish people smugglers. The Africans will then storm, 30 or 40 of them, storm the boat, fight their way on. There are stabbings. One person was shot in the head while trying to do this just the other day. So it's very violent. And of course, the concern is these very violent people are coming across the channel and into the UK asylum system.
Can we ask Mark about this narrative that's building about Brexit being to blame for the migrant crisis? Emmanuel Macron was here last week. We've just spoken about him. He said that in the press conference with Sir Keir Starmer. We've heard it before as well. What's the truth behind it?
Well, yes, indeed, what Emmanuel Macron has said has just fuelled now this narrative being put forward, quite frankly, by the Brexit haters. And I just think it's a nonsense. As someone who has been a Home Affairs journalist for 2 decades, I've had the misfortune to sit through the migrant crisis in all of its forms over those 2 decades. And I can tell you that during the period of 2010 to 2016-17, the big crisis was lorry migrants. 80,000 a year were being pulled off the lorries trying to get to the UK. Theresa May gave the French around about £200 million to boost border controls at the port of Calais and Dunkirk, and they did that. It then became very, very difficult for people to come across in the lorries. And instead, the people smugglers looked to what was happening in the Mediterranean in 2015, 2016, when people were fleeing ISIS and coming across in very significant numbers on boats across the Mediterranean, and adopted and developed that tactic in the Channel. They started off with a few boats and it gathered. It was nothing to do with Brexit. And of course, the Dublin Agreement is what everybody refers to, the fact that we could send people back to the EU. Well, actually, that was a two-way street. The EU could also send people to the UK. And in 2016 and in 2017 in particular, we took more migrants from the EU than we sent to the EU, under the Dublin Agreement. So, as I say, a lot of kind of narrative that is building around this being the fault of Brexit, the small boats crisis. I just think it's blatantly not true.
OK.
Great. Yeah, and in the meantime, Mark, those fighting migrants who are shooting each other and stabbing each other, they'll be at a hotel near you fairly soon,
I've seen some videos this morning of migrants having a gay old time in a hotel room.
Great.
And I mean the old definition.
Maybe that's why. Maybe they're using that as an excuse to stay. But let me just ask you this very briefly, because we've got to move on. But is the fighting amongst themselves a new phenomenon, having watched this for so long as you have?
There have been occasional outbreaks of violence, you know, with the people smugglers just trying to keep control of unruly elements within the camp.
Sure.
It's never been like this. It is very, very dangerous and violent in these camps now, and on the beaches, and now, of course, on the boats.
All right, thank you,
Thank you, Mark.
Up next.
A report into BBC show MasterChef has found 45 allegations against Greg Wallace were upheld, including one of unwelcome physical contact. Should the BBC have acted sooner? You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Vegetarians now have a greater desire to wield power more than their meat-eating counterparts. I mean, you like a sausage, don't you, Biggins?
I like a sausage, but I have gone off meat per se, funnily enough, as I'm getting older. I think there are, you know, it takes a lot of eating a piece of meat, if you pardon the expression.
And the older you get, the more you find that it takes a lot of eating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I must admit, I have more of a conscience about eating meat as I get older.
Yeah.
and that's a fondness of animals brings that. And if you ever go on Instagram and you look at cows and horses and pigs,
they're wonderful.
They're all affectionate and
know,
incredible.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there we are, putting it into our mouths and eating it.
What do you think about the move to enforce vegetarianism on people, though? Because especially in schools and some universities, there's this trend for meat-free Monday, where there's this enforced absence of meat on children.
I think it's ridiculous. Let kids do what they want, to be honest with. Within reason, obviously, a healthy diet, da-da-da-da-da. But no, I think, you know, I don't eat meat, the husband eats meat. It's not an issue. Eat what you want. But I think that the fact that they're trying to force this into schools, look, let kids experiment, give them a vegetarian option.
Yes,
let
yeah,
them
and all
see
schools do that.
Just options.
It has just become political, and also there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I know children are often told that eating meat is terrible for the environment, but importing avocados thousands of miles is also terrible for the environment.
But also, I mean, a lot of vegetarian meals, are certainly processed vegetarian meals, have got a load of salt and fat and sugar in them, so they're actually worse for you than eating a lean piece of meat.
I think the tide is turning now, because the new trend amongst young people, particularly young men, is protein. Chicken, breasts, tuna. That's the new trend, to get as much protein in them as possible. It's very difficult to do when you're vegetarian.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Bev and Ben. All week we are joined now in the studio by Alex Armstrong and Matthew Torbett.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, we want to first of all just respond to this breaking news story about Greg Wallace this morning. Obviously, MasterChef presenter has been sacked, and it seems now that these allegations have been, what we're hearing is substantiated. What does that even mean, Alex? What do you make of this?
Well, obviously, they've spoken to the people that were, claiming there was abuse by Wallace at some point in time over the last, I think it goes back decades, a decade ago.
Yeah.
He's vile. I mean, I think he's a vile man. I really do. I don't think there's any excuse for him. I think the BBC have totally dropped the ball here. I think they've got they have a lot to answer for. Again, the BBC are reporting on the BBC how embarrassing for our national broadcaster that we pay tax, well, basically pay tax for, don't we? Almost forced into it, bullied into it. And now they're having to report on themselves again, another star that they have let go under the radar.
You don't think, though, that this is one of those situations whereby it gets into the headlines that he's in trouble because of a complaint, and then dozens of people come out of the woodwork and, oh, I remember he said this to me once, I'm going to, oh, yeah, and one day we were talking about cakes and he talked about soggy bottoms, and I'm going to...
There's always chances, Bev. There's always going to be chances, but, you know... With these claims, some of them being substantiated now, I think we can safely say that there's a fair amount of them that are probably legitimate. And I think when you get to that point and there's evidence or something that's been substantiated, we have to say, you know, he's a wrong one.
Matthew, Greg's defence last week on Instagram was something similar to, look, the BBC knew what they were getting with me when they hired me. I'm a working-class greengrocer. They wanted a cheeky guy. They knew about, you know, my kind of humour and so on and so on. And if they had a problem with it, why did they hire me in the first place and wait so many years to do something about it if they had a problem with it?
Yeah, I think I would understand that. But as I said last week, I think on this channel, me being working class and a bit of a character doesn't also make you socially thick. There are certain jokes you may say in certain groups that you wouldn't say in other groups. And I think the other thing is, a lot of this may be about words. There are also allegations that seem to have been substantiated around physical contact. I think that we live in an era where you know where you should or shouldn't be touching people or asking people to touch you. And it's a shame. I mean, I think the one thing that I think always summed up Greg Wallace and why I never really liked him was that famous tweet from about a decade ago where there was a man who was asking him if he could retweet him because he was raising money for a cancer charity. And because he spelled his name with one G, he said, "It's Greg with 2 Gs."
I remember that. Ooh.
And the bloke said, "You know what? Shove it then. Don't worry about the kids with cancer. You just keep your G, mate." And I think that is the epitome of the man he probably is, actually, for me.
But the BBC should have stepped in earlier when there was obviously allegations going back a while, and I think that's where they have obviously let him down as well by not reining him in, letting him get away with it.
You're right, actually, Alex. When I'm looking at the detail of this now, this report has found that 94% of the allegations against him related to behaviour which, related to behaviour occurred between 2005 and 2018. But I think the bit that is most damning for the BBC, sorry if I just find it, well, how many complaints were made at the time that nothing changed?
Yep. And this is why people also don't come forward, either in the media or elsewhere. I don't think we can overestimate how intimidating it can be, whether you're a young man or a young woman in a junior position with somebody who is essentially a star on millions of pounds a year and is, you know, a flagship presenter for the BBC. Why would you come forward if the BBC or others don't act on these sort of complaints, and you've just sort of got to put with an awful situation?
Yeah, indeed. And Alex, we just mentioned it prior to the break, but Wallace, in his part defence last week, said that he just discovered he was on the autism spectrum, and he had a dig at the BBC for failing to identify that and indeed help him out with his
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. That is absolute nonsense. I mean, first of all, we throw the word autism around like it's nothing anymore to people. I mean, there are people who have genuinely got autism, and how insulting to them. They don't all... I think one of the allegations was that he pulled his trousers down and was exposing himself in front of a woman, and that's one of the reasons why he uses autism as defence. This is nonsense. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it, and I don't think the vast majority of British people are going to buy that excuse either. He's trying to cover for himself. And look, again, as I said, I'd send it back to the BBC. There's plenty of reports that they could have stepped in.
This is quite shocking. This is very damning for the BBC. 11 formal or informal complaints about his behaviour on MasterChef between 2005 and 2024.
That's bad.
Yeah. So that is really bad. So 11 times. And apparently he was warned to change his behaviour and he didn't. So...
And then what happened? What were the repercussions? Nothing.
The investigation has said that his autism is, they've said, highly relevant, and that his humour is a masking technique, but effectively that he can't change his behaviour.
I don't buy it.
It's rubbish. I'm sorry.
You know, it's the same situation where you have a bad childhood. Maybe your dad was nasty to you, and you go and repeat the behaviour, and you say, "Well, my dad was a bit of a wrong 'un, so I'll be a wrong 'un as well." It's just take some self-responsibility. Totally right. Stop making excuses. It's victimhood in its purest form.
That's what the BBC have said. They say this behaviour falls below the values of the BBC and the expectations we have for anyone who works with or for us. Let's do one more story. What should we do, guys?
Hot weather, a threat to British way of life, Alex. Ed Miliband says the British way of life is under threat because it's a little bit balmy.
I can't take this bloke seriously. I can't take anyone who thinks this is a serious story. I mean, look, we do get spouts of hot weather, yes. You know, this is just normal for Britain.
It's called summer, isn't it?
It's called summer. You know, we had last year it hit 40 degrees, and we're not crying about that anymore, are we? We're saying, oh no, this is really warm. I saw these charts yesterday put out by another media organisation, and they were literally what I call hell red. It's just
well, sorry.
I don't know what he means by a British way of life. What does he mean by that? When he's saying, I wish they were better at defining what being British actually is. Can we start there for a
I don't know is the truth. And, is it going down the seaside and you can't do it anymore? It's too... I don't know, so I won't delve into the comment in particular.
Is it because...
People are playing sports still, aren't
we can no longer ski in August, which we're used to doing? Like, what is he actually talking about?
He should be welcoming this beautiful spout of weather we've had. Surely it's great for all of his solar panels, isn't it?
Well,
isn't it? Wouldn't it?
So this comes off the back of a Met Office report that found Britain has twice as many extremely hot days a year than it did at the end of the 20th century. So that's
But we could go back to the medieval period, and there was a long period of very hot climate change.
The Roman warming period.
That's right. The Roman period. And so this happens in our climate. The Earth does change. It's not static.
There's quite a lot about the British way of life which would be improved by a little bit of warm weather. I'm sure we all agree after a lovely weekend. Right, Alex and Matt, thank you so much. You'll be back in the next hour. Let's get a 6-second news update with Sam.
Very good morning to you. Just after 10:30, the top story. Well, a report into the BBC's MasterChef has upheld 45 allegations against the show's former presenter, Greg Wallace. The claims include one of unwelcome physical contact and racist comments. The production company responsible for the show has apologised for past failures in handling complaints. Almost 1,400 migrants have crossed the Channel since the UK and France signed a new returns deal. The Conservatives claim it's a gimmick, suggesting just 6% will be sent back. London Southend Airport remains closed this morning after a plane crashed in a fireball on Sunday. Witnesses say the aircraft banged sharply before hitting the ground. The number of casualties is still unconfirmed. Donald Trump has confirmed the US is sending Patriot missile systems to Ukraine, calling the support long overdue. He's accused Vladimir Putin of talking peace by day but bombing civilians by night. Here, the government's launching a new £100 million scheme to support 200,000 vulnerable children and families over the next decade. Labour says it will provide education, safe housing and support networks. And 10 people, including 6 children, have been killed in an Israeli drone strike in central Gaza. Eyewitnesses say a missile hit a crowd of people queuing for water. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with your top stories at 11.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Up next, it is International Non-Binary People's Day.
Yes.
I'm sure you're well aware of it at home. You're sat there wearing a suit, trousers and a little blouse, or maybe you're wearing, I don't know, a bikini top, but with your man's overalls on your bottom half. I don't know.
Only at weekends, Beth.
What does it mean if you don't identify as either male or female? I'm being a bit trivial about what is probably a serious issue. But that's what we do. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's a different day out there today. Low pressure starting to move in. Sunny spells and scattered heavy showers, some thunderstorms possible as well. So first thing this morning, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Bands of showers pushing north and eastwards across the UK. Some of them will be heavy at times. The risk of thunder, particularly across northern England into southern Scotland, some disruption possible. But in between, in the sunshine, it will feel fairly warm towards the east and southeast again. Here temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, but for many a much fresher day as the winds pick up in the north and the west, generally temperatures 21 to 25 degrees. Into this evening time, further bands of heavy showers continue to push northeastwards across Scotland. Some of these showers could be heavy, still potentially thundery as well, so there could be still some disruption into the evening time, but some brighter skies following across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland with a scattering of heavy showers. Showers clearing northern England for a time too, and then largely dry across the rest of England and Wales. Still some scattered showers around, a little breezy around the coast, and the heat from the past few days continues to clear away into the near continent. Through this evening and overnight, we start to see more organised areas of rain moving in from the Atlantic as the low pressure system continues to push across us. We'll see some clear spells in between. Temperatures generally, though, overnight a little lower than they have been of late, so a little more comfortable for sleeping, but still 14 or 15 Celsius. Some sunny spells initially across eastern and northern parts to start Tuesday, but this band of showery rain will push eastwards across most areas. Some thundery downpours in there, some local disruption, but in between there will be some sunny spells around this area of low pressure, but most of us seeing some rain at some point during the day. A cooler and breezier day, temperatures high teens to low 20s for most of us, which is near average. See you soon.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The westbound M487 bridge is closed for maintenance. Diversions are in place. The A63 eastbound has all lanes closed between the A1166 and A1079 junctions. West Lothian roads require caution due to surface water. On the M1 northbound in Luton, traffic is delayed by half an hour near junction 11 due to a collision. In Surrey, the clockwise M25 at junction 8 has quarter of an hour delays from congestion. And on the trains, disruptions are reported on Avanti West Coast and cross-country lines between Glasgow Central and Motherwell. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello, welcome back. 10:37. Ben and Bev with you on Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News.
There is still plenty of time to grab our biggest cash prize to date, £54,321. You don't have to pay any tax on it. Here's all the details you need.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Very good luck to you. What would you spend 54 grand on if you won?
Staff.
Staff.
That's all I need. That's all I need.
Sorry, say staff.
Staff. I want someone to do the garden. I want someone to do my ironing. I want someone to mop my floor. I want someone to do the cooking. I want someone to do all my pile of posts and take back all the things to the post office I've not sent back.
Come on, you lazy so-and-so.
Ladies, are you with me?
Do it yourself.
Are you with me? I am doing it myself. That's why I need staff.
I'm not sure you'd probably ever be able to hire somebody for maybe 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Right, let's move on. Really nice story here. A sculpture of a Lancaster bomber, which is said to be bigger than the Angel of the North, is very close to nearing completion.
This is thousands of pounds which have been donated towards the project, but the group behind it estimates they still need £30,000 to finish it in time for autumn.
Our reporter Jack Carson's been to see the progress of the build.
They'll get to know all about Lancasters in Nazi Germany and the rest of the occupied continent.
It remains one of the most recognisable planes ever built. During the war, Lancasters filled the skies of Lincolnshire as they completed missions across Europe. Today, this iconic aircraft is closer to immortalisation than ever before, with a 1-to-1 scale 100-ton steel sculpture almost at completion. GB News last saw the progress of the build back in September, and thanks to hundreds of hours of engineering, the bomber is taking shape.
OK, so this is the fuselage section that we're working on at the minute. This piece alone is an incredible 20 tonnes.
Timmins Engineering have made the vision come to life over the past few years, and designer Luke Hanford describes what it means.
I'm Lincolnshire born and bred. You know, we're a big county, but we're not very well recognised. It's nice to be able to put us on the maps, and it's a great recognition for those that have served in the military during war and beyond, and it's nice to give something back.
When it's finished, the plane will sit beside the A46 on the Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire border, taller than the Angel of the North. These huge steel posts will hold it in place to make it look like it's flying to passers-by.
Front fuselage, the front part of the plane is going to be facing north, and the rear tail section is facing south.
Charlie White is the chairman of the Bomber County Gateway Trust, the group responsible for the project.
Oh, it's spine-tingling all the time, you know, just to say that we're actually, every day we're a day closer to finishing the project. We didn't quite think at one stage we were going to get to this point, but we have. We've been very lucky with the public donations and private money that have come in to help build it. We think we need about £30,000 to finish the project, so we've got to buy some more of the steel, and we've got to pay for the company, the Timmins Engineering, who are helping build the project. We've got haulage in, we've got cranes, we've got other insurance and other things we need to pay for still that we just haven't quite got the money for. But hopefully, with help like this, we can get some donations and we can cross the finish line.
As the sparks in the workshop continue to fly, it won't be long before this Lancaster sculpture can too. Jack Carson, GB News, Lincolnshire.
So if you'd like to help the Bomber County Gateway Trust complete their project, donate by simply visiting justgiving.com and search Bomber County, or you can scan the QR code on screen now.
Yes, and just as a quick reminder, if you don't know how to scan QR codes, some people don't, including my dear mum, you get your camera, put it over the QR code on the screen, and it should come up with a small link which you can tap, and it will open the web page, hopefully.
And that was a moment that you would never hear from Andrew Pearce, who barely knows how to use his mobile phone.
Did you know what? That's probably a good thing. My screen time on my iPhone, we did a piece last week. We all checked on the panel how long we've been on our phone each day. Do you know what mine was? My average spend per day?
Yours will be high.
It was disgusting.
Go on.
9 hours, 45 minutes a day on my phone. But that was on a show day at the weekend, which obviously you wake up in the morning, you're sourcing stories, you're speaking to producers, you're trying to find guests and so on. But yeah, they need 10 hours a day on this damn thing.
That's a lot. And listen, and you know, your kiddies are still young, but if you're a parent watching this now, you know that we are heading into the summer holidays where we will be constantly telling our teenagers, get off your phone, do something else, get off your phone. It's an addiction that we have to be
sure is
well aware of. So we see what you've been saying at home. Michelle has said Trump should be allowed to address Parliament. Ben and Bev, you are both spot on. Labour MPs, Labour MPs, she calls them, need to grow up. I'd rather listen to Trump than Starmer any day.
Keith, good morning, Keith. You've said autism can be a mask for inappropriate behaviour, but the BBC knew about this with regards to Greg Wallace and even warned them what he was like, but they still employed him. The BBC is at fault here as much, if not more, than Greg Wallace himself.
Yeah. That's certainly what I'm now taking from the story, is if these complaints were going on for so many years, but not just, you know, a formal complaint to a boss in a company, that's a significant act in a workplace, to go to somebody. And if that happened 11 times, and then he was still there, it does suggest, yet again, the BBC providing immunity to the big superstars.
Yeah. Paul, good morning. You've said, Bev, if you get the chance to ask President Trump some questions, can you ask him if white Brits can have a discretionary green card and assisted passage? There would be an exodus on a biblical scale.
I will endeavour to ask that question on your behalf.
I think JD Vance was asked that in a White House press briefing from Winston Marshall, I think. They said, will you provide asylum to Brits who are worried about free speech and persecution?
Yeah. And Tot has said, Bev, are you going to America to present a GB News show? Yes, I am. You said you just read something about it online. Yes, I am.
Are you excited?
Dates to be confirmed. I am full of trepidation. Look, it's a big responsibility. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to sharing the news of the American political landscape with you at home, and more importantly, critically, how it relates to events in this country, what we could be learning, what our government could be learning from what is happening in America. And we know that you at home are massive fans of Donald Trump, a lot of you watching this show. So, yeah, I am excited. You know, I'm a mum. I've got a lot to do. There's a lot to do before we get there. There's a huge amount, you know. But yes, it's all going to be taken care of. It will be fantastic, and I will hopefully represent you at home.
Yes,
well.
and hopefully you'll bag some big interviews with the President, with JD Vance, the administration, RFK Jr. I'd love to see personally.
All being well. RFK. Yeah, me too. Me too. But yeah, more news to follow as and when we can bring that to you, of course.
OK, moving on. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of dry weather, sunshine across much of Europe over the next few days. Hot in Turkey at the moment, temperatures above average. The risk of 1 or 2 showers across Greece into Italy, but many places dry. Lots of sunny spells again, a few showers into southern parts of France. Spain and Portugal, lots of sunshine, temperatures in the low 30s. A little more cloud towards the Canary Islands, a little breezy here too. Over the next few days, it remains hot and sunny across all areas.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference.
It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, 10 to 11 on Britain's Newsroom on GB News with me, Ben Leo, and Bev Turner, of course.
A reminder with breaking news this morning, 45 out of 83 allegations made against Greg Wallace during his time on BBC's MasterChef, including one of unwelcome physical contact, were found to have been substantiated. This is according to an independent investigation which has now concluded.
Responding to the findings of the reports, the BBC has said the corporation had no plans to work with Wallace in the future, saying his behaviour falls below the values of the BBC. And they added that opportunities were missed to address Wallace's behaviour, adding, "We accept more could and should have been done sooner."
So production company Banjay has apologised for past failures in handling complaints and said the report makes for uncomfortable reading.
Well, let's get more now from former BBC presenter Roger Bolton. Roger, good morning. Thanks for your company. Greg Wallace has said that, look, the BBC knew what they were getting into when they hired me. I was a working class, cheeky, man of the people greengrocer. Not sure if you accept that as a defence for what we are hearing about in these reports. But I guess the bigger question, Roger, is does the BBC have a problem with people of this calibre and this kind of behaviour? I mean, Hugh Edwards springs to mind most recently, not comparable, of course, to the accusations levied against Greg Wallace, but, you know, there seems to be a running theme here with inappropriate behaviour at the BBC and the Beeb's failure to act sooner.
Right, there are about 5 questions in there. I mean, I'll point out these allegations relate to events up until 2018 and 2019. And at that point, the director, I think, of entertainment at the BBC, hauled Greg Wallace in, read him the riot act, sent him a letter and so on. What's baffling and what I don't understand is what's happened since 2019. I think the wider problem, I mean, obviously, Greg Wallace was employed, as he says, because he was a different sort of person. The BBC wanted to reach a different sort of audience. He was a cheeky chappy. But that's no explanation and excuse for the way he behaved. I think what it reveals is an industry-wide problem where presenters have a great deal of power and young production staff in particular on short-term contracts have little or no power at all. So, you know, if they complain, do they get sacked? You have to be very brave to complain in those circumstances. I think it's also a question of changing attitudes. You know, maybe as a result of Me Too, a lot of young women aren't prepared to put up with the sort of behaviour they've had to endure in the past. I think it's a shared problem in the industry, but the BBC does need to now, in my view, report on what has happened since 2019. There have been further allegations made to BBC News.
I think the bit that concerns me, though, Roger, is that most of these allegations, the vast majority, were about language, inappropriate jokes. That is a very subjective matter, clearly, and maybe sexual comments that were made. What does that say about us as a society now if a man can lose his job over, we know he hasn't been arrested, he hasn't been charged, he hasn't gone to prison for anything? That may happen. But at the moment he hasn't. For inappropriate language, does that not worry you a little bit?
Not much in this case. Look, he's paid a great deal of money over a long period, a great deal of money. And so he's a lot to, that he can go back to. Look, these people, there's a difference between banter between two people in which, either side sort of enjoys it, and consistent offensive behavior where young people in particular, young women in particular, are offended and, try and remonstrate, and it goes on and put his sock on, excuse me for saying this, putting a sock on your penis and appearing in front of somebody may strike some people as funny, but obviously a great deal of people were offended. Well, if you're offending people, stop it. If you want to make this sort of banter, find people who enjoy it and make it with them. But where you have consistent evidence of people being, and it was obvious, embarrassed, upset, so on, that's no excuse. This is not a discussion about banter. It is not a discussion about free speech. What it is about somebody who is terribly insensitive to the impact of what he's doing and his behaviour is doing.
Okay. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate your company. Roger Bolton, former BBC presenter. Thanks very much.
Still to come, is digital ID the solution to the small boat migrant crossing? No. Here's your weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's a different day out there today. Low pressure starting to move in. Sunny spells and scattered heavy showers, some thunderstorms possible as well. So first thing this morning, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Bands of showers pushing north and eastwards across the UK. Some of them will be heavy at times. The risk of thunder, particularly across northern England into southern Scotland, some disruption possible. But in between, in the sunshine, it will feel fairly warm towards the east and southeast again. Here temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, but for many a much fresher day as the winds pick up in the north and the west, generally temperatures 21 to 25 degrees. Into this evening time, further bands of heavy showers continue to push northeastwards across Scotland. Some of these showers could be heavy, still potentially thundery as well, so there could be still some disruption into the evening time, but some brighter skies following across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland with a scattering of heavy showers. Showers clearing northern England for a time too, and then largely dry across the rest of England and Wales. Still some scattered showers around, a little breezy around the coast, and the heat from the past few days continues to clear away into the near continent. Through this evening and overnight, we start to see more organised areas of rain moving in from the Atlantic as the low pressure system continues to push across us. We'll see some clear spells in between. Temperatures generally, though, overnight a little lower than they have been of late, so a little more comfortable for sleeping, but still 14 or 15 Celsius. Some sunny spells initially across eastern and northern parts to start Tuesday, but this band of showery rain will push eastwards across most areas. Some thundery downpours in there, some local disruption, but in between there will be some sunny spells around this area of low pressure, but most of us seeing some rain at some point during the day. A cooler and breezier day, temperatures high teens to low 20s for most of us, which is near average. See you soon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 6 063 225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 11 o'clock on Monday, July the 14th. We're live across the UK on Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Bev Turner.
So breaking news this morning, over half the claims against MasterChef's Greg Wallace, including one of unwanted physical contact, have been upheld by the report. Should the BBC have stepped in sooner when warnings were given?
Trump's UK return. The President of the United States will make a rare second visit to Britain in September. The dates have just been announced, but he won't speak in Parliament as our MPs are quite conveniently on holiday.
Border disorder continues. Almost 1,400 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since the UK and France signed their magnificent one-in, one-out migration deal only last week.
And authorities in the UK and France are becoming increasingly concerned about the levels of violence that have broken out between migrants, including just yesterday a huge fight involving migrants on a migrant boat and then a border force vessel.
Tony Blair's wet dream. The government considers using digital ID cards to stop migrants from illegally working in Britain. Would this open the floodgates, though, for an online identity for all of us?
And is there a chance for a royal reconciliation? Senior aides to the King and Prince Harry have been seen together in London. Cameron?
Well, sources close to Harry say they are disappointed that this meeting leaks, but does this signal the beginning of the end of this royal feud? More details shortly.
Bloggers, poets, DJs and diversity officers are just some of the protected occupations eligible workers can apply for to get a skilled visa in Britain.
Now, are you suffering with this heat wave? Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has warned the British way of life is under threat, not because of anything other than climate change. Are you going to change the way you live your life? And is it going to get worse because the sun's out?
Would you reckon then, Bev, digital ID, good way to stop the small boats crisis?
I think you all know.
Oh, we'll stop people illegally working in Britain, rather?
No, because this will be used as a little Trojan horse to get it through, and then once it's through, we'll just normalise it, because people will be on board with illegal workers getting these. It won't make any difference. It won't stop them working, it won't stop them coming here, and all it will mean is all you innocent people at home will be tied up to a system that the government can turn on and off.
Yeah, but Bev, what's wrong with that?
Everything.
Great, we're safer.
No.
Everything's organised.
No, we need to have an imagination as to what this would mean. There'll be conditions attached to your freedom. You can't go anywhere without your phone. Anyway, don't get me started. Here's Sam Francis with your news.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom at just after 11 o'clock. The BBC says it has no plans to work with former MasterChef presenter Greg Wallace again after a report upheld 45 allegations of misconduct, one including unwelcome physical contact. Most claims related to inappropriate sexual language and behaviour between 2005 and 2018. The show's production company says it is extremely sorry to those affected, calling the report uncomfortable reading. No decision has been made yet on whether to air the MasterChef series that Wallace filmed last year. The BBC and Banijay, the production company, have both issued apologies to staff subjected to Greg Wallace's behaviour. Almost 1,400 migrants have now crossed the English Channel since the UK and France signed a new returns deal last week. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp has branded it a gimmick, claiming that just 6% will be sent back under the agreement. He also told GBNews that the Rwanda scheme was handed to Labour on a plate. Sir Keir Starmer is expected to meet Germany's Chancellor this week to discuss how to crack down on people smugglers. London's Southend Airport is shut until further notice after a small plane crashed in a fireball on Sunday afternoon. Witnesses say the aircraft banged sharply before hitting the ground and bursting into flames. An investigation is now underway into that crash. The Air Accidents Investigation Branch saying in the last few minutes that a team of experts is now on site and inquiries are ongoing. Donald Trump says the US is sending very sophisticated military equipment to Ukraine, including Patriot missile defense systems. The president has confirmed the support in a Sunday night address, saying Ukraine desperately needs it. He also hit out at Vladimir Putin, accusing him of talking peace by day, but bombing civilians by night. While Trump has insisted America will be 100% reimbursed by Europe for those supplies.
Haven't agreed on the number yet, but they're going to have some because they do need protection. But the European Union is paying for it. We're not paying anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin is really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice, and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
President Trump is also pressing ahead with a 30% tariff on Mexico and EU from the 1st of August, unless, he says, new trade deals meet his expectations. His economic advisor says the tariffs are real if Trump doesn't get a better offer. Markets are bracing today for impact, with currency moves set to show global reaction. But Bitcoin barely budged over the weekend despite the fresh threat. EU trade ministers will meet this morning as the US deadline has shifted from July to now the 1st of August. The government here is launching a new £100 million scheme they say is designed to give vulnerable children and families a better start in life. Labour claims the Better Futures Fund will support up to 200,000 children over the next decade, helping them to access education and safe housing. It brings together charities, investors and local communities to tackle disadvantage. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says it is the largest fund of its kind ever created in the UK. Prosecutions for fare evasions on the London Underground have hit a 6-year high, with nearly 3,700 people taken to court in just the past year alone. TfL also issued over 13,000 penalty fares on the tube. The crackdown cost nearly £14 million across the network last year, with TfL warning fare dodging robs Londoners of vital investment. 10 people, including 6 children, have been killed in an Israeli drone strike while queuing for water in central Gaza. That's according to emergency services on the ground. Eyewitnesses say a missile hit a crowd gathered around a tanker in the Al Nusrat refugee camp. Israel says a technical error caused that strike to miss its intended target. Video has shown children among the casualties with jerry cans scattered across the road. It comes as Red Cross medics report a surge in gunshot injuries near food sites and warn that Gaza's hospitals are near collapse. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with an update in around 30 minutes' time, now that we can hand back to Ben and Bev.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning to you. Thank you, Sam, and thank you for your company at home. Ben and Bev with you on Britain's Newsroom, and thank you for your emails and your comments on your say.
JD.
Go on.
I was going to say,
No, you go.
JD has said it was Blair and Mandelson's plan to flood our country with immigrants, and it worked in their day, and Starmer continues with his plans. It's all right for them. They have plenty of money, but what about the rest of us? They are even stabbing each other in the dinghies now. What will they do once they're here? We're going to talk to Mark White about that in just a minute.
Yeah, astonishing revelations in the last hour from Mark White about fights on dinghies and all sorts. And I'd say again, these are the people coming to Britain. They'll be free soon to roam our communities, getting buses into town and spending money and dentistry. Elsewhere, Ed Miliband is saying that the British way of life, whatever that means these days, is under threat because of climate change. Here's hoping. You have said the sun is the only thing giving us a bit of happiness. It's great to sit in the sun listening to GB News.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, I've just seen the same message from you. Yes, he should keep it. Oh, I don't know what that was about. Keep it until Starmer, Davy Hoyle and others give back the... Oh, OK, this was a debate that you're all having online here about whether Greg Wallace should keep his MBE following the allegations that we're hearing a bit more detail about this morning. Dawn has said, yes, he should keep it until Starmer, Davy Hoyle and others give back their own awards or titles. They've harmed people on a more significant level, and Hoyle brought Parliament into disrepute. That's the thing about the gbnews.com. Your say, you can also talk to each other as well as to us.
Etienne, is that how you pronounce the name? You said the BBC were well known to be communist in its sympathies. It was tolerated during the Second World War because of our alliance with Russia, but it's not really changed much since. Are the BBC communist?
Morning John says Prince William will never forgive Prince Harry for the things he said and done. This is because a photo has been leaked, revealed somehow. Harry's new PR people talking to King Charles aides, and it's raising questions. What are they doing? What are they cooking up behind the scenes? William is our future king, says John. He hopefully will live for the good 50 years or more, with him only being 43 now.
Yeah. And just by the way, didn't William and Bev look great yesterday? William and Catherine. Sorry. Were you at Wimbledon with Wills?
I'm happy to be mistaken for Kate Middleton any day. Don't you worry about that, Ben. Oh, she looked brilliant, didn't she? And the little girl, she's so gorgeous and so well behaved. Princess Charlotte, there she is on the front page of the Telegraph in the royal box. I mean, those children are just amazing, aren't they? They will sit quietly and just amongst such a formal setting. I know it's a tennis match, but tennis can be a little boring, can't it? Sorry, forgive me.
No.
Oh, you love it though, don't you?
Tennis isn't boring. All right, let's move on to the serious stuff. GB News can exclusively reveal that almost 1,400 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel since Britain and France signed that returns agreement on Thursday.
So now authorities in the UK and France are becoming increasingly concerned about the levels of violence that we're seeing between rival migrant gangs. And the government is apparently going to solve all this by introducing digital IDs, biometric ID for migrants. Over 40 Labour MPs writing to Number 10 in support of the idea. That's because they're stupid, Mark White, isn't it? Because digital ID is going to do nothing to solve this issue.
Well, there are those that would argue that it might be able to keep a firmer sort of check on those who are being employed in jobs in the black economy, illegal economy, grey economy, whatever politically correct term you want to describe it as these days. But the truth is, the vast majority of those working in that illegal economy are doing it through sort of criminal gangs that act as their brokers that get them these jobs in the first place, and they're working often for companies that don't give two hoots about their status.
As if those employers, whether it's a Vietnamese nail bar or a kebab shop, are going to say, oh, no, I'm only going to pay you a low wage, but you've got to show me your digital ID. They're not asking for their papers now as a right to work here. But these MPs just don't understand that.
Well, they possibly don't understand that. And listen, I get your concerns about the potential Trojan horse of introducing these ID cards to migrants initially and then potentially to the rest of us. All I would say on that really is that, you know, we quite willingly give up all of our details to private enterprise, but you know, somehow we get very sort of sticky about it when it might be the government that's asking for your details.
Oh, I don't give it up to private entities either, Mark.
No, you're sensible.
Well, it's also the collaboration between the private, the state and private enterprise. That's what this would lead to. That's what troubles me intensely. But let's talk about this violence that we're seeing between rival migrant gangs. Is this a new phenomenon?
It's become a much more serious phenomenon in the last 12 months in particular. It's horrific now across in and around the camps in northern France, with rival migrant gangs battling each other out. And what you're looking at here are actually images from Spain, eastern Spain, of violence that's broken out between people within the Spanish population and migrant groups there. Now, this followed a horrific incident, actually, in one Spanish town in which an elderly local man was very badly beaten up, it's claimed, by a group of Moroccan immigrants. And that sparked days of violence that have just intensified. And that really, I think, points to an issue of increasing tensions in multiple countries, not just Spain. And we've seen it even in Ireland, of course, yeah, in recent months, with quite a lot of violence that's broken out at protests there.
Mark, can we discuss briefly about this narrative we did at the top of the show, that Brexit is to blame for this small boat situation? Emmanuel Macron ramped up that kind of rhetoric during the state visit last week. He said Brexit voters were promised illegal migration would stop, and it's because it's been so bad that's why it's fueling it, in actual fact. Is that right? Or is he just...
Well, I think it's certainly true to say that Brexit voters were promised that we would gain control of our borders, but for all kinds of reasons that might actually point to the inability of whoever was in charge of the government at the time to implement some of the changes that the public wanted with regard to tougher border controls. That may well be true, but to say that actually that Brexit was somehow responsible for and fueled the small boats crisis is, to me, a complete nonsense. This was born, it was an evolution of watching the people smugglers, watching what was happening in the Mediterranean at the time of ISIS, when many thousands of people were fleeing Syria, coming across the Mediterranean in small boats and landing, of course, in the Greek islands. The people smugglers in France looked at that model because we had a very significant migrant crisis with lorries. 80,000 a year were being pulled off lorries at French ports. We gave hundreds of millions to the French to deal with that crisis. They toughened up their port security, which meant it was much more difficult for people to come across by lorries. They still do it, but in much smaller numbers. And so the people smugglers then evolved their tactics, used small boats, a few initially, and it's become the phenomenon it is, not because of Brexit, but just because it's such a successful
people
tactic.
cite the Dublin Agreement. That's the routine go-to.
Very briefly, another complete nonsense, because we actually, in the last 2 or 3 years of the Dublin Agreement, took more migrants in than we ever sent off to the EU.
OK, great
stuff. All right, thank you, Mark. So despite Labour's pledge to crack down on legal migration, it's now emerged that roles including Equality and Diversity Manager remain on the skilled visa list. Also, you're more likely to be able to stay and work here if you're a poet or a blogger.
Yeah, or a DJ as well. We're joined now by the director of Don't Divide Us, Alka Segal Cuthbert. We just lost her, unfortunately.
We need poets, Ben.
Poets.
We need poets.
Yeah, I mean...
I like poetry.
Poetry, I mean, yeah.
Should we see what else is on this list?
I mean, what's the GDP contribution of poets in Britain?
Not as big as it should be, in my opinion. Let's have a look at what else is on this list. Mark is still with us while we bring up our guest.
Garage managers and proprietors, hairdressers and salon managers, publicans, betting shop. I mean, really, we can't find betting shop managers and workers in the UK? Why are they given skilled visas to come to the UK?
Well,
what do you think,
Mark? Why? Is that a skilled job, running a betting shop?
Well, I mean, it might be, but I think it's often because, you know, those that are looking, that you usually do it through agencies. They want to find someone to take over a job, and an agent can often fill that gap much more easily with qualified people from abroad than having to sort of look for people that might be less willing to take on that particular job here in this country. Doesn't mean it's right, but that's often the expedient way of doing it.
You've got diversity, equity and inclusion managers on there as well. The NHS spends £14 million across its various trusts on DEI. And Bev, what is DEI? Just explain it for the viewers.
So that is diversity, equity and inclusion. So it means that it's a phenomenon that was brought in probably in the last 10 to 15 years under the environmental and social governance obligations of massive corporations and, in fact, most companies, but it's much harder for other companies. So you have to have a quota of people who work for you who would qualify as being diverse. And that could be gender, sexuality or race or religion.
And yeah, we are now importing DEI managers under the skilled work visa scheme. Well, let's speak now to the director of Don't Divide Us, Alka Segal-Cuthbert. Good morning. Thank you for your company. Is it totally necessary we're importing DEI managers to come and work in Britain? Should they be given skilled work visas? Is that a skilled job?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on. I did wonder whether we'd kind of gone back in time to April the 1st when I heard this, because everyone I know, it's just like the idea of importing more of these EDI experts is just madness. It's like, the ones we've got, like, get rid of, please. What good are they doing? I think when you think, it's not just a question of money. I mean, we know that kind of £27 million has been spent by the civil service on this type of work, and 13 million by the NHS. But it's not just a question of money, because the really kind of weird and ironic thing is that this category of job comes under the title Human Resources and Industrial Relations. Now, we published a report recently on the Equality Act, which includes the effects of EDI in workplaces. And when you think of the fact that between 2017 and 2024, we've had over 200,000 employment tribunal hearings, many of which will have come about because of the influence of equity, diversity and inclusion policies in the workforce, we can see that this is, far from creating harmonious industrial relations, it's the complete opposite. It is causing real disruptions and antagonisms and fractiousness in the workplace culture, which is, a serious problem, on any account. No, we don't need more of them. We definitely do not.
So in May, they drew up, the government, a temporary list of what they called shortage occupations was drawn up. So I'm on board with that. We go, right, what do we need more of? What do we need less of? We need more people to work in care homes, I think. We need more people to look after our elderly. We probably need more teaching assistants. We need the lower end of society and the top end of society. We need to look after those people. Does a blogger come under the definition for you? So if you don't know what a blogger is at home, it's somebody who makes a living writing their words on the internet, and maybe their life is their job. As you might say it's a journalist, but sort of not really. What do you make? Is a blogger a valid occupation?
No, of course it isn't. And it's very easy to laugh, and we should laugh at the stupidity of this thinking. But there is a more serious problem underneath this. One is that it shows you, if you like, the cultural status and value that leaderships over decades have been given to this strata of work, people involved in symbolic production, if you like, or in the intelligentsia, the people, academics, cultural workers, etc. So there's been a kind of overvaluation of that, which we can see reflected in this kind of categorizing today. But even more fundamental than that, what this shows to me is how out of touch our government is with the reality of a society that it's meant to be governing, right? How out of touch is it with the reality of the experience of, like, thousands, if not millions, of ordinary workers who go to work and have to face this, I want to say a swear word, but I won't, You know, when they're told suddenly, oh, you know, we've got a real problem with racism, white supremacy, do this training, etc., etc. It's utter gaslighting, it's utterly unfounded, and it's utterly divisive. So no, we definitely do not need this. And it's really worrying that we have a government that is not able to firmly say, we're getting rid of them.
Thank you, Alka. We've run out of time. Alka Segal, Cuthbert there from Don't Divide Us, talking a lot of sense.
Thanks, Alka. On this, a Home Office spokesman has said the introduction of an interim, time-limited and conditional temporary shortage list will make sure the immigration system works better for the UK, with international recruitment only providing support where absolutely necessary.
Breaking news this morning. Thames Water, you guessed it, has announced a hosepipe ban. It's going to begin next Wednesday for customers in Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire, most of Wiltshire and parts of Berkshire.
Up next, though, find out why Labour have been accused of crocodile tears when it comes to striking resident doctors. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's Britain's Newsroom. Bev and Ben all week. We are joined in the studio by Alex Armstrong and Matthew Torbett. Migrants' digital ID is going to solve the problem, Matthew Torbett.
It sort of already exists, so we don't need it.
Funny that.
My opinion. If you are either an asylum seeker, if you are a refugee, if you are coming here on a visa and studying legally or working here legally or whatever else, if you are planning to stay more than 6 months or you are on a path to naturalisation, you tend to get about biometric residency permit, which is essentially a small ID for those that don't know, a bit like a driving licence, and it will say on it whether you're allowed to work, whether you are only allowed to work part-time, and all these different manner of things. So really, if you haven't got one, the likelihood is you probably have come here illegally and people don't know about you, and maybe you are in the black market workforce, or you've come here legally and we know who you are, therefore you have your BRP card. So I don't really know why this obsession post-Blair with the digital ID is constantly mooted by similar sorts of people if we basically sort of already have something.
I think we can answer that question, Alex Armstrong, don't you?
Yes, we can. So Baroness Harman has said this last week. This is Harriet Harman. She's now in the Lords, former Blairite, of course. She's been urging this to solve the migrant crisis, among many other things. There's always lots of things to go with it, including, she says, easier voting authentication. I'm like, well, just show your passport, show your driving licence, not that hard. 40 Labour MPs now have written to ministers urging for this to happen. So it looks like the Brit card, which is what they were selling it as, you know, that little bit of propaganda. Yep. Oh, it's got Brit in it. That's great for you guys trying to play to the Patriots. Yeah. Is the angle the government are going to take? And I'll be very surprised, given what Emmanuel Macron said the other week as well, when he mentioned ID cards, which was very interesting. Maybe even the King mentioned, I can't quite remember, that this is going to happen. And I think the government will have enough votes for it. They are worried about some rebels, though.
And they obviously, the government were worried about, and governments in every country, because this is happening in lockstep all across the world at the moment. But the concern was the great British public. We've always been very anti show your papers. That's not the society that we believe that we should be.
But until 5 years ago.
However, yeah, and exactly. And what Ben means by that is the idea that you had to have a vaccine passport to go into somewhere to say you'd taken a drug. What they believe now, this Labour government, is that the public will buy into the concept because of their enormous dislike of illegal and the injustice of illegal migration and people coming here and living in hotels. So it's basically, how do we get this past the resistance? That is what they're looking to do.
Yeah, I think they're coupled with the potential lack of knowledge of immigration paperwork as such, which I've tried to outline, and people going, yeah, actually they should have ID. And actually, if you look at the beginning of the pandemic, we're quite a totalitarian nation. At the beginning, everyone wanted a lockdown. It was totally, let's do it. So I think the idea that if this is some way pernicious in a way as well, they want to, a more fairer society, therefore, I imagine there will be a lot of support for it. I think that I totally understand the privacy aspect. I tend to get a bit exhausted thinking about it, because I think, well, if we all think GCHQ can't monitor our phones and our devices and don't know where we are and what we're doing anyway...
No, but I don't think it's quite... The concern isn't quite that. I mean, just that... So look at China. So in China, you've got central bank digital currency, which is linked to your social credit score. If you criticise the CCP on their version of Facebook, WeChat, your social credit score goes down. If you have a row with your neighbour, if you get a parking ticket, your social credit score goes down. When that happens, you maybe, for example, can't travel to the neighbouring city, or you can't fly out the country, or you'll be limited in the amount of meat you eat, for example, because you've gone over your carbon credits. So when that system comes into place, as we see in China now, and it's not a conspiracy, this is happening now in China, there's lots of information about it online, it's quite a phenomenon, actually. When that happens, that's the concern. Civil liberties are at risk. What happens in the next pandemic when you decide you don't want to get vaccinated with their experimental gene therapy, or you refuse to adhere to lockdowns that don't make sense?
I suppose the danger is, with lots of policy, the unintended consequences. And once the genie is out the bottle, you don't put it back in. So if we allow this for migrants or people that have come here legally or illegally, who's to say isn't the next step of, well, actually, we're going to... I suppose, like you say, if we're going to crack down on people on benefits, well, we need you to have them as well, actually, and we'll keep an eye on you. And it's contingent on how much social welfare you receive. And so I
then it becomes incredibly conditional. Alex, Matthew, thank you so much. Sorry that was so brief. We've got to get another brief news update now with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 11:30, the top story. A report into BBC MasterChef has upheld 45 allegations against the show's former presenter, Greg Wallace. The claims include one of unwelcome physical contact and racist comments. Production company Banijay has apologised for past failures in handling complaints. Breaking this morning, Thames Water has said it will impose a hosepipe ban from next Tuesday across parts of Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire, Wiltshire and Berkshire. It follows a weekend of record-breaking temperatures. The third heat wave of the summer is now easing, with cooler air and heavy downpours moving in. Almost 1,400 migrants have crossed the Channel since the UK and France signed a new returns deal. But the Conservatives claim it's a gimmick, suggesting just 6% will be sent back. An investigation is now underway into a crash near London Southend Airport. The Air Accident Investigation Branch says a team of experts is on site and inquiries are ongoing. The government's launching a new £100 million scheme to support 200,000 vulnerable children and families over the next decade. Labour says it will provide education, safe housing and support networks. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. A lot of you getting in touch about the digital ID issue. We'll get to those in just a moment.
Up at noon, though. Noon, rather. Moon at noon.
Mind you, you had a very late night, Ben.
I did my show last night. I finished at midnight. I went to sleep maybe half one in the morning, and I was back up at 7, so poor me.
Lightweight.
Poor me. I love it.
Timer.
Dawn wakes up. Oh, tell the world.
No, I just love what I do. I get to work with lovely people.
Yeah, but even when you're not working with lovely people, you still get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. That is the time, Dawn. You get up to go for a wee and go back to bed.
It's a lifetime on newspapers. I'm programmed to do it. In any case, we're here now and we've got a cracking show lined up, haven't we?
We absolutely do. Details of this Donald Trump visit are seeping out into the public arena. We now know the date, but crucially, why is this idea of only sticking to Windsor currently the plan? I mean, we've got Nigel Farage now saying that Donald Trump should be invited to Parliament. An interesting suggestion. I'm not sure how well that would go down given the composition of Parliament if he actually did attend or give an address in the same way that Macron did.
But they're in recess, aren't they?
They are in recess.
No one will be there.
The timing is interesting.
So there's been a call from Nigel Farage to recall Parliament for this moment, given our relationship with the United States. But I think the timing of it being in recess is entirely intentional.
Of course it is, absolutely is. I mean, considering some of the people we have had address both houses, or each house, the leader of China we've had, no problem whatsoever. Yeah. I think it's actually, if I was Donald Trump, I'd be insulted. I don't know about you.
I totally agree.
Would be angry.
I think it's an incredibly stupid thing to do. Yeah. We need collaboration and cooperation with America.
It's ridiculous. We have Macron all over the place, hugging everybody. Why not have Trump?
Zelensky every 5 minutes seems to be talking to
And obviously, we're also continuing the breaking story that you've been covering really well today with Greg Wallace and what that means for the BBC. I agree with you, Bev. I mean, what have the BBC been doing? It's not the first time, is it?
Yeah, no. To have that many complaints over, I did not realise. I thought these were lots of historical complaints that have suddenly, it's one of those pile-ons.
Yeah.
What I didn't realise is the fact that there had been 11 formal or semi-formal complaints over the years that were ignored. That's a lot.
It is a lot. And I'm going to also be talking about when I was a very, very young journalist back in the 1800s. I went to interview a BBC celebrity, a very well-known BBC celebrity. And they happened to... well, I'll tell you in the show, but yeah, that was an interesting experience.
Right. That from midday.
Thanks, guys. Right, coming up, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has issued a direct warning to you at home, yes, you. If you oppose his net zero policies, you are, quote, betraying future generations.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's a different day out there today. Low pressure starting to move in. Sunny spells and scattered heavy showers, some thunderstorms possible as well. So first thing this morning, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Bands of showers pushing north and eastwards across the UK. Some of them will be heavy at times. The risk of thunder, particularly across northern England into southern Scotland, some disruption possible. But in between, in the sunshine, it will feel fairly warm towards the east and southeast again. Here temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, but for many a much fresher day as the winds pick up in the north and the west, generally temperatures 21 to 25 degrees. Into this evening time, further bands of heavy showers continue to push northeastwards across Scotland. Some of these showers could be heavy, still potentially thundery as well, so there could be still some disruption into the evening time. But some brighter skies following across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland with a scattering of heavy showers. Showers clearing northern England for a time too, and then largely dry across the rest of England and Wales. Still some scattered showers around, a little breezy around the coast, and the heat from the past few days continues to clear away into the near continent. Through this evening and overnight, we start to see more organised areas of rain moving in from the Atlantic as the low pressure system continues to push across us. We'll see some clear spells in between. Temperatures generally, though, overnight a little lower than they have been of late, so a little more comfortable for sleeping, but still 14 or 15 Celsius. Some sunny spells initially across eastern and northern parts to start Tuesday, but this band of showery rain will push eastwards across most areas. Some thundery downpours in there, some local disruption, but in between there will be some sunny spells around this area of low pressure, but most of us seeing some rain at some point during the day. A cooler and breezier day, temperatures high teens to low 20s for most of us, which is near average. See you soon.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hello, welcome back. 11:40. Ben and Bev with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News, whilst Andrew enjoys a well-earned holiday.
And talking of holidays, a climate analyst has called for calm after the Met Office's latest UK climate assessment.
The report shows that temperature and rainfall extremes are due to become the norm because of climate change.
And our Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has used the day to say that due to climate change, your British way of life is under threat, whatever that means.
Yeah, well, we're joined now by the author of Unsettled, What Climate Science Tells Us, What It Doesn't. That's Professor Steve Koonin. And Steve, good morning to you. I'm personally very excited to speak with you because I bought the book, your book, maybe a year or two ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially the part, Steve, where you list off, I think this was your book, correct me if I'm wrong, you list off all the predictions made by climate scientists of yesteryear, decades ago. For example, the UK will be under a Siberian climate by 2020, children won't know what snowfall is, so on and so on. And the question begs, if they were wrong so many times in the past, what's different now?
Well, not much is different, actually. We've got lots of predictions. It's a very difficult task to actually predict the climate. We know that at most one of them is right. And apart from a general warming trend, which we can expect for various reasons, it's really difficult to predict, particularly for an area as small as the UK.
And do you have any idea what Ed Miliband says then when he talks about our British way of life being under threat because of climate change?
Well, I don't know. It seems to me the British way of life has been changing a lot over the last several hundred years, more recently, and most of the changes have nothing to do with climate, but are more political, economic, demographic. Those are much more influential on way of life than the 1 degree rise in temperature over the last 100 years.
Steve, it's felt like for several decades, you will know this much more than I do, that for several decades, anybody that issued any sort of scepticism about an orthodoxy on climate change was marginalised, criticised, sidelined. Do you feel that that's changing a bit now and that we are starting to hear a counter voice and that can only be a good thing?
Yes, certainly there has been a palpable suppression of people who wish to dissent from the narrative. And I do agree it's changing now. I think the primary reason is that people are starting to understand the cost, disruption, and frankly, the futility of trying to reach net zero. And they're increasingly asking, tell me again why we're doing all of this. So yes, there is starting to be a greater presence of dissenting voices.
What is your perspective on what we should and could be doing to help our planet to remain a balanced ecosystem for majority of the population?
Well, certainly in the longer term, research to develop and demonstrate low emission technologies, they're still much too expensive. A second is broader public understanding of the nuances of both climate and energy. They're both complicated and nuanced subjects, and one needs to understand them both. And I think a third, probably most important, is to be able to adapt to a climate that's changing for whatever reason. And among other things, it means preparing for the worst of what we have seen in the past, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Steve, just finally, you were a scientific advisor to Barack Obama. You worked under his administration in the United States. Did you hold the views you hold today back then? If so, did you relay them to the administration? What was their response?
I mean, I certainly understood energy technologies back in my days in the government, and certainly advocated for deliberate research and transparent understanding of climate. But it really only is in the last 10 years that I've come to understand just how unsettled, if you'll excuse me, the climate science is and how much uncertainty there is, and also the extent to which the media and the politicians tend to exaggerate the direness of the climate situation.
Yeah. OK, thank you so much, Steve. That was Steve Koonin there, the author of Unsettled, What Climate Science Tells Us and What It Doesn't.
Really good book, actually. I'd recommend anyone to try and get it if you can.
Well, let's hear the counter voice now. We're joined by the lecturer in climate change resilience and sustainability at Sheffield Hallam University, John Grant, a man I imagine was slightly, I was going to say pulling his hair out, but maybe pulling his beard out is a better description, John. When you were listening to Steve there, I loved this phrase that he used about there has been a palpable suppression of dissenting voices for decades, and those voices now are thankfully being heard to provide some balance.
This isn't an issue of balance. This is an issue of physics, and the fact is that when you change the chemistry of our atmosphere, it warms up. This is not open to debate. What should be the debate is what we do about this, and that would be great. We should have started this debate 30 years ago, rather than arguing about the fact that we might be slightly higher or lower in our predictions. The reality is, and it's been shown in the latest Met Office report, is that this is not over the last 100 years, but we're now warming 1/4 degree per 10 years, per decade. And this very real acceleration that has been managed, it has some serious implications going forwards if it continues, especially in light of the fact that ideas and proposals for how we might adapt to this are being pushed back, and they've all been put in this big bucket that we call zero carbon or whatever it is, and that's too expensive. Even though we can show that £1 spent now will save anything between £4 and £8 in the future. So it makes financial idiocracy to say it's too expensive now. What you're doing is you're just pushing those increased costs to the coming generations. And that seems a bit unfair to me.
But isn't that because of that the silencing of dissenting voices? Because if anybody had said 20, 30 years ago, the climate is changing, we need to think how we're going to manage that in terms of our individual lifestyles, making cooler spaces, maybe building more reservoirs, maybe. Surely, John, scientists and academics like you would have said, no, don't spend your money on that. Spend your money on solar power, wind turbines. We've just got to stop it. That sort of megalomaniacal mankind will save itself mentality.
It's not binary. It's just not binary. Why shouldn't we install cheaper ways of making electricity? That's a good idea. So I wouldn't call that megalomania. I just call that good business sense. But also these ideas of more reservoirs, cool spaces, designing buildings that can stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter without spending any money. My research has been dealing with this for 25 years and has proved it in the UK, but has not been heard, partly because people in the media have said, but don't overreact, John. What are you doing? Why do you want calling me a megalomaniac? Because I want to stop people dying in the winter and the summer because they're too cold or too warm. I just want to save people that are listening to this show. And the great news is that we can do this cost effectively, and there isn't a debate about that. We can save people money, we can prepare for the future, and we can do a little bit in terms of the global temperature, which, admittedly, UK only produces a tiny amount compared to the rest, but we do produce something, and we actually started this as well. So there is an ethical thing that the Industrial Revolution.
We started it and gave. Sorry, John.
Sorry.
So, John, I'll just interject at the end there. We did start it, but we also gave the world great industrial technology which has advanced mankind beyond all means. So I don't feel guilty for that at all. I'll just let you say that on the record.
John, it's great to see you again.
Push it to a green future.
It's lovely to see you again, John. You need to become a millionaire with your technologies to keep all of our homes warm and cool.
I don't want to be a millionaire. I want to save people.
Well, let's chat about that again soon. Lovely to see you. Now, sticking with the weather, European holiday sun. It's going to be hot. Hot, hot, hot. Here it is.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of dry weather, sunshine across much of Europe over the next few days. Hot in Turkey at the moment, temperatures above average. The risk of 1 or 2 showers across Greece into Italy, but many places dry. Lots of sunny spells again, a few showers into southern parts of France. Spain and Portugal, lots of sunshine, temperatures in the low 30s. A little more cloud towards the Canary Islands, a little breezy here too. Over the next few days, it remains hot and sunny across all areas.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Jupiter, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Ben Leo and Bev Turner. Also joined by our royal man, Cameron Walker, with all the gossip on this, mooted meeting between the King and Prince Harry.
Yes, a paparazzi shot with the King's close aide and Harry and Meghan's two of their close aides sat together at a private members club in London, taken on Wednesday, that particular picture. What this shows is concrete evidence that both sides are actually talking, which is a step up from the last couple of years. I think it's it's a big coincidence, isn't it? But a paparazzi photographer just happened to be there to capture the moment. Sources close to Harry say they're disappointed with the leak. They're both sides officially not commenting. But I think what this does show is there appears to be some kind of reason for... Well, basically, Harry and the King would not have agreed to their aides meeting unless they wanted to come up with some kind of truce. They wouldn't have given their blessing to their staff if they didn't want to come up with some kind of truce.
But who would have leaked the pictures? That's got the Sussexes written all over it for me, Cameron.
Well, sources close to the Sussexes say it was nothing to do with them, not me, Gov. We're disappointed it leaked. So I don't know. I don't know who... It may not have leaked. Maybe it was just a coincidence. The photographer just happened to be there. I'll let the audience decide how much coincidence, how likely that is. But yeah, we'll see.
Thanks, Cameron.
That's it. We're done for today. Ben and I will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30. But here is Tom and Dawn this afternoon. See you tomorrow.
Do you want to talk about?
Oh, you're on the set tonight.
Greg Wallace.
Well, have you ever thought about smearing yoghurt on your windows to keep cool? That's a serious suggestion published by the BBC this weekend in the most extraordinary campaign against air conditioning.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why you should be wearing a string vest while you're doing it as well. You didn't know about that bit, did you? And I'm also... we're going to be talking about the Greg Wallace situation, and I'm going to be telling you about my experience with a BBC
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. It's a different day out there today. Low pressure starting to move in. Sunny spells and scattered heavy showers, some thunderstorms possible as well. So first thing this morning, a mixture of sunny spells and showers. Bands of showers pushing north and eastwards across the UK. Some of them will be heavy at times. The risk of thunder, particularly across northern England into southern Scotland, some disruption possible. But in between, in the sunshine, it will feel fairly warm towards the east and southeast again. Here temperatures approaching 30 Celsius, but for many a much fresher day as the winds pick up in the north and the west, generally temperatures 21 to 25 degrees. Into this evening time, further bands of heavy showers continue to push northeastwards across Scotland. Some of these showers could be heavy, still potentially thundery as well, so there could be still some disruption into the evening time, but some brighter skies following across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland with a scattering of heavy showers. Showers clearing northern England for a time too, and then largely dry across the rest of England and Wales. Still some scattered showers around, a little breezy around the coast, and the heat from the past few days continues to clear away into the near continent. Through this evening and overnight, we start to see more organised areas of rain moving in from the Atlantic as the low pressure system continues to push across us. We'll see some clear spells in between. Temperatures generally, though, overnight a little lower than they have been of late, so a little more comfortable for sleeping, but still 14 or 15 Celsius. Some sunny spells initially across eastern and northern parts to start Tuesday, but this band of showery rain will push eastwards across most areas. Some thundery downpours in there, some local disruption, but in between there will be some sunny spells around this area of low pressure, but most of us seeing some rain at some point during the day. A cooler and breezier day, temperatures high teens to low 20s for most of us, which is near average. See you soon.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery.
Imagine having an extra £1,000